Everybody. Hello, everybody. This is Chase Buttice with Oracle Podcast. How is everybody doing? I'm recording this a little late. Still coming out on Monday. This is for the astrological forecast for the 23rd through the 29th. It's been a crazy week, hasn't it, my guys? My goodness, my people. Yeah. This week we have a new moon in the sign of Cancer. And the new moon is going to be right on top of the sun conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. And I mean, that is like such an incredible opening and nourishing and life-giving placement. And it's interesting because I was looking at the chart and it's squaring, meaning it's that new moon is a tension aspect to Saturn in Aries conjunct Neptune. And it's just so very clear to me. My sister called me the other day. I don't pay attention to the news. And then my sister called me and she's like, we just bombed Iran and da-da-da-da-da. And I could feel myself just going. It's like that deep constriction of the thing that we all dread, right? Which is like a giant world war, mass destruction. And I really kind of went inward with it and started working with the energy. And I was just like, this is what they want. This is what the powers that be get off on. They get off on our fear. That's how they control. And if we have this beautiful aspect, which is all about the divine feminine, which is what is happening on planet Earth right now, it's a recalibration. We're going through a massive awakening, and there's a recalibration of feminine energetics, meaning the rise of nourishment, yin energy, working with the imaginative faculty, intuition, Mother Earth, pleasure, play, instead of grind, conflict, war, output, exhaustion, non-pleasure. It feels to me like energetically, I just am getting the feeling that these large monolithic structures are really freaking out. And because what I'm telling you is that it's what I'm seeing on the news, or I don't even watch the news, what people are telling me and then whatever is on the news is not what I am seeing on the ground as a teacher, guide, oracle, spiritual coach, astrologer. What I'm seeing on the ground is a collective awakening of humanity. I would say almost every single one of my clients right now is going through some sort of massive transformation and recalibration where they are basically saying no more. I'm not going to work like this. I'm not going to live like this. I value myself. They're starting to prioritize their own boundaries. They're starting to prioritize their own selves, their own deep well of nourishment. So, it's interesting because I was just thinking about how the most important thing as we are moving in this great changing of the ages and as we move into the age of Aquarius, where hierarchies begin to topple and patriarchal orders begin to topple, the powers that be are going to be grabbing everything they have, and it's going to create a larger fear body. And that's what we've been working with on planet Earth. We've been working with a really, really, really strong fear body, which is also a pain body. It's kind of deeply constrictive and contractive. And truly, the only way out of that is for us to not allow them to steal our joy and to remain and ground into a place of vision and pleasure within our own lives. And, that's kind of, I've talked a lot about what power is in this new era we're heading into, and how in the previous era it was very much power over. And it's interesting because that's still what these powers that be are trying to exercise, right? This power over us, humanity, humans, the people, these governments, these things that we think are keeping us quote unquote safe, are destroying everything and controlling the life force of the earth, and squeezing it to death and extracting. And them playing with their, guns and their ego trips and all of this stuff is put in that, all that the threat, it really does activate a deep fear body response. And I really feel that at this point in humanity, it is our duty to really remain stable internally and really work to keep our energy in a space of holding to the light. And I'm not somebody who's like, be positive, da, 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 da. It's way beyond that. If you guys know me, I'm into shadow work. I'm into accessing the shadows, always talking about the dark and the light. But the truth is that as we move into this new era, we're all starting to pay attention to how energy, that's what's coming online, is that energy is what creates matter. And what I've said before is that we've all kind of been collectively believing in these hierarchs, in these patriarchs, as these energies that have power over us, that dictate our lives. And true sovereignty comes from realizing that they may try to control our behaviors or our lives, but they do not have the power to affect our consciousness unless we let them. And it is our soul, our own true power, which is able to ground in a vision and imagination for ourselves in the future. And the imaginative faculty of humanity, we've been outsourcing it to people outside of ourselves. We were trained, the ancients understood that as within, so without, as above, so below. So, which basically means as you believe, as you think, as you vision, as you see, that will outform itself and become. And that can be kind of scary when we all start to tune into how much we think negatively and how much that energy and how much the pain body of the planet affects us. But now more than ever is a time to really start to work on having strong energetic boundaries around what kind of energy you're going to let into your field and how you're going to ground your energy during this time. Because the truth is that it's like when one monkey on one island figured out how to open a coconut, all the monkeys all over the world. There's some study somewhere. I read this somewhere, but they figured out how to open these coconuts in this one way. And it's that same idea. When one flower opens or blossoms, all the flowers blossom. You know what I mean? And it's really, when we start to look at it like that, and we start to look at energy like that, and we start to place authentic value on the energetic realm more than we do the material realm, which is what the rise of the feminine is about, we have the power and we can begin to imagine a new world. And this is the truth. Okay? It's hard to It's hard to realize that when we live in such a material reality where we have bills and we have this and we have systems, and we have matrices, and we have all these things. We have these people on the news telling us all these things. But our world is our creation. And when we start taking responsibility for that, that's when we have true sovereignty, and that's when we have authentic power. And we all need to start realizing the power of our imagination and the power of our vision and the power of our collective frequency. So if we are vibrating in a large fear body, and with the large fear body, the contraction and the fear and the reactivity, we will get that. What you expect, you get. If we start grounding in a deep energy of the feminine and light, which is what this new moon is really, really, really going to give us. I mean, I don't know what else we could potentially do besides that would be more powerful, honestly, because on this new moon, it is like this flowering energy of the feminine. It is like, and it is coming through strong. And it's a new level of understanding how to nourish oneself and understanding, starting to pay attention to your deep internal truth. So Cancer is not just about nourishment or what nourishes you. It's about knowing yourself on the inside. It's the crab. It protects its insides. Its insides are very, very sensitive. Its insides are very, very intuitive. And so when you are truly in tune with your intuition, meaning you are in tune with how you feel, you're paying attention, you're not in your mind. You're not just simply going this and that and this and that and this and that and da-da-da-da-da and wheels and wheels and wheels, and you start actually paying attention to your body and you start being present and you say, okay, what feels good to me? Is what I'm thinking feeling good? Is what I'm doing feeling good? And how can I begin to shift my life, my internal state and my reality to ground a new frequency of nourishment? This new moon is giving us the most powerful, potent energetics of that. So I would say that, I'm just looking at when exactly. Yeah, so it's going to be on June 25th at 4:21 a.m. So it's going to be in the Pacific time. So it'll be on the 24th for some people and the 25th for others. So yeah, this new moon, and it's interesting because it's squaring, which is a tension aspect of Saturn and Aries. And the Saturn and Aries is like, man, it's really about anger. It's about conflict, but it's about the release of energy that's been held. And so there's a lot of tensions coming to the surface, but they need to be released in order for energy to move. And the best thing that all of us can do on this new moon is to really begin to swim in the deep waters of the feminine, which means really beginning to pay attention to what gives you life and what doesn't. And then starting to create true energetic boundaries. So a lot of the work I'm doing these days, I have a course I just completed, and I'm writing a book on, I call it a sacred boundary, establishing your energetic field, because it's way more than boundaries. It's really about learning how to establish your field so that you are not inundated with energy all the time, that you're constantly processing for others and reacting to. Instead, you are setting the tone. You are creating your own field. And there is not necessarily a energy that comes in that just is easily coming in. It's more about this kind of silent power, cool power that just kind of sits. So energetic boundaries, I believe, are kind of like the where we are heading on this planet to ground. I believe that the empaths, if we start learning how to ground our energy and start learning how to truly protect ourselves and learn how to protect ourselves from like negative energy. And it doesn't mean that negativity is always bad, But when it starts to extract your life force, which has been what the dynamics of our earth have been, there's been an extractive energy. And it's been extracting massively from the feminine, from Mother Earth, right? From Gaia. So really starting to pay attention to your life and what is extracting from you energetically. And then really getting that sword, those scissors, and cutting it out so that you can protect yourself and start to ground in more joy and light. Because literally, if enough people on planet Earth hold a certain frequency and a certain imaginative faculty, and yeah, people think that this sounds crazy, but it's actually crazy to believe that it's not true. We've been living in such a backwards land where we've believed that our material reality is the truth and that the energy behind the matter is questionable or not reliable. And it's actually the other way around. The energy creates all the matter. And so we have to start paying attention to the energy, which means the imagination, the intuition, how we feel, what nourishes us. And if we want the earth to be more balanced and peaceful and in tune with nature, we need to start paying attention to our own nature, which means really honoring our inner voice and taking actions in accordance with it. And there's going to be energies that are going to be coming up against that are going to, this is honestly the spiritual war of the time. And I don't even like to use those words because it's based in duality, but I can feel it inside of me as somebody that's been massively expanding, and then certain energies will come in. And it was really interesting. The last time I did ayahuasca, I take part in ayahuasca ceremonies, usually about once a year. And I was hyper aware of this. This was like the thing I focused on so much of the time, because I was noticing that when I focused on one thing, there was this like really powerful surge of energy that would come through, and it would become really, really powerful. And then I would also notice that there would be these energies that trying to come in to distract it or take it down. A lot of it has to do with distraction. And when you take your energy away from that thing and you give it to the thing that's on the outside trying to come in, you're slowly depleting that power. And so I just kind of see that on planet Earth at this time, it's really is part of our sacred duty. This is the work I do, like with myself on the regular, is I spend so much time really working in quantum timelines, which is like working with I am statements, because I realize that I am Earth. And I know that it is part of my sacred duty on planet Earth at this holy time of reckoning and awakening right now to be the change that I want to see. There's no other time in human history that, well, I don't know if that's true, that's more important, but it almost feels like it. It feels so important right now. And I have very strong faith in what is happening on the ground with humanity, and in the realization that our energy affects matter. We are not powerless. We give them our power through our focus and our fear. It is the ultimate act of sovereignty to not fall into that trap. And there'll be so many people out there that say, you can't just put your head in the sand. You can't just do this. You can't just do that. It's really not about that. It's about holding a collective vision and a vibration that transcends the fear body. I've been dealing with this since COVID. I get really mad. I have an Aries moon and I have Mars on my ascendant. I get really, it's part of wildness and freedom and part of nature, but I get really mad when people tell me to be afraid. And then they get mad at me when I'm not. because that's my right. And then they'll judge me or think I'm not being empathic. That's not true at all. I've lived my life as a healer. That's like my entire goal. I literally have devoted my life to the service of humanity and the uplifting of the light. And I've realized that it is not, if we truly want transformation on this planet, we have to learn how to have energetic discipline with our field and what we are focusing on and what we are allowing in and what we are allowing to influence us. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm still on fucking social media. But I'm working with it because I'm like, it definitely does. But I have really, really curated my streams of what kind of information I get. It's mostly like psychics and stuff. People talking about like the transformation of humanity and all this. But even then, it's like spending your time when you have the time, if you're driving, working with I am statements, really stepping into what you are becoming and not allowing negative influences to take your energy down. Because I can tell you, like, I do my work in real time. Everything I talk about, I do. I am completely embodied and I am completely honest about it all. And my life has completely transformed when I really started getting energetic discipline and having true energetic boundaries around what negativity I would allow into my field, because I'm an empath, witch, psychic, oracle. I'm highly, highly sensitive. And most people who are listening to this, I imagine that you are as well. And that's what we've been used for millennia. Because we are the sensitive ones that have vision and psychic attunement. But that has been thrown underground for many thousands of years. And we've been, our empathy has been hijacked for a large and collective pain body. And so we end up, believe me, it's hard being on planet Earth, being really sensitive. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. It's really, 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 really hard. There's so much suffering on this planet. And if you really open yourself up to it, it will destroy you. That's how I feel. It's destroyed me. And there are certain people, I'm not saying that certain people shouldn't be activists or certain people, whatever you feel is your calling. There are people that are like on the front lines at, factory farms and doing this work that is holy. And I have great respect for those people. For me, it would destroy me. I wouldn't be able to function. I'm not strong enough in that way. My work is to ground a frequency of high vibrational and life-giving energy, which means focusing on my intuition and what I am out for and what I see myself becoming, which is the spiral, which is one with nature, which is wildness, which is always going through us, right? That grand spiral, that grand chi, and really, really grounding in that so that we can ground a new frequency on Earth. I know it sounds like nutty, kind of, but when you really start doing energy work with yourself in this way and you start really, really, really focusing, you will watch your life transform. I swear. And this is like all the information that's been stolen from us that we've been taught not to believe, that we think is selfish, and a lot of it is used for very selfish reasons. That's why I have to be really careful. Like, as a Virgo, I know it's about being very, very, very in alignment with your intuition and where you see yourself and what you see yourself evolving into and stepping into that frequency. Because that frequency is what is going to heal the planet. And most of it has to do with, if we're really stepping in and bringing more light and we're in part of the spiral and we're expanding, we are always bringing in more nourishment and more pleasure, because that's what life is. A flower is filled with nourishment and pleasure. A thriving plant is filled with nourishment and pleasure, right? They don't have these blocks that we as humans do around receiving. So receptivity, we've been so trained into the pain body, which is contracted, fearful, giving our power away, looking to outside sources of ourselves to find clarity, to feel safe, focusing on all of the darkness instead of the light, letting the darkness bring us down and bring down our ambitions or our inspirations or our creativity. I mean, it's a battle to not be taken down by those forces. But this, if there was ever a time in human history to do this work, this is the time. So really, I just want to say this new moon is a moon of great receptivity into, and a great initiation into a new pleasure body versus a pain body. And as we're talking, we can look on the news and get all freaked out and go back into that pain body and project and imagine what could happen, which is creating more and more and more of it. Or we can ground in the present, sit with Gaia, open to pleasure, and realize we are a vessel of earth. As we allow light in and we allow receptivity to truly hit us and nourish us and feel that and feel pleasure on very deep levels, it is not selfish. It is God's work. It is holy work. It is enhancing the pleasure body of the planet. We are the earth. That's why these days I'm really, I got a horse a few months ago, and it's been a journey. It's not been easy. It's been a real test of my what I feel like I can handle and my identity and just stretching myself in new directions. But every time I think about potentially not having him, the whole reason I got him was because he brought me so much pleasure, because connecting with him made me so happy, because I love him. And I was like, I really need more of this. I need more joy and pleasure in my life. I work all the time, like all of you, I'm sure. And it's interesting because we're all at that edge, right? Of what will we give to ourselves? Do we even know how to nourish ourselves? Do we even know what nourishes us? You know what I mean? Really starting to examine and work with that. And it's almost sometimes painful to give yourself pleasure. I call it the pain of enduring pleasure. When you are so trained into a pain body, it makes you feel unsafe. Because in some way, that fear and contraction is control. And when you truly open up to receive, that is the feminine, which is the unknown. It's also the wild, which is where freedom is. So it's really interesting to pay attention to your relationship to receptivity and pleasure, and starting to really pay attention to where in your life you need more pleasure, where you can give yourself more pleasure, where you really have a hard time receiving. I've been doing such deep dives on this month. It's almost been it's been a very deep, I've gone into very deep reflection about it. I've thought a lot about nourishment and what nourishes me. And a lot of my clients have a really hard time giving to themselves. A lot of them are women, but I mean, men too. It's this thing where when you are highly sensitive, you really do tend to overgive. You have a really, because you feel so much pain for the planet and you just want to help and you want to work, but it's a way of avoiding your own pleasure and your own light and your own self. And to truly begin to give to yourself and trust that it's safe to give to yourself is a revolutionary act. And I'm telling you, this new moon is the time to do it. This is the time to really open up. Wow, I talked for 30 minutes about this. I didn't even look at it. Open up about it and open yourself up and open up your receptivity channels, I call them. So, I feel like I could talk about this forever, but go deep with this, you guys. It's not superficial. It's not like, this is what it means for the goddess to return. Living a life in more pleasure. How can you live your life in more pleasure versus pain? That is when we begin to worship life. That is when we begin to worship ourselves. That is when we begin to cultivate true self-worth, because we're able to receive. That's why having energetic boundaries creates structure around the self. So a boundary, a cup cannot hold water without a boundary, right? Otherwise the water will spill everywhere. The cup has to have a boundary around itself so it can hold it. So an energetic boundary and establishing your field is basically holding, being able to hold and receive so that it doesn't spill out everywhere. So it's all connected. Okay. This was a serious one, but what's fun for you? Find your fun, guys. Find your joy. Mine's my horsey. I'm going to go see him right now. All right. I love you guys. Have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay. Happy new moon.